Right, here we are, everyone, and good morning, good evening, good day, or even good night. I don't know where you are or what time of the day it is that you're watching, but I am here with Paul Cheung, who is it Cheung or is it Cheng? I'm not
It's
sure,
Cheng.
Paul. Cheng,
Yeah.
okay, fantastic. Yeah, no, I just want to get that right so I don't make a complete fool out of myself. But here we are with the FICS Sports Cairo Chat Show episode, goodness knows what already. So we've been plowing through these and getting all sorts of great material, having a lovely chat with sports chiropractors around the world. And today, yes, a man legendary from Formula One exploits, Premiership football in the UK, desert racing, all sorts of things you've
The
done.
challenge racing, yeah, rallying, yeah.
And what's your recent thing? You're now into horse polo, treating horses and riders, and all sorts of stuff.
My head's all over the place, mate. You know, it's like, ever since I joined, FICS, this is back in 2000, 20 years ago. It's unbelievable where, sports chiropractic, has taken me.
Wow.
Considering I graduated 30 years ago, from ACC, my interest in sports chiropractic actually happened, as a fifth year undergraduate in clinic.
Yeah.
And it was all because this golfer, just a part-time weekend golf comes in, and he's hurt his back, and I remember doing an adjustment to his lumbar spine, and the next day he rang me and he says, "I can't believe it, I can actually hit the ball straighter and further than ever before."
Nice.
And that was kind of like a huge impact for me, and when I graduated and started working in clinics, dealing with people who appreciate the ability to lead a normal life and further themselves, it really made an impression on me.
Absolutely. But that's such a cool story that, in terms of what got you thinking about along those lines and got you actually interested in pursuing it. That's phenomenal. That's really cool. I mean, I think a lot of people do have that almost like that one light bulb moment, when the light bulb goes on and it goes, hey, that's what I want to do. That's where the satisfaction lies.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. Right. Then you started seeing other people coming in, whether they were tennis players or even some of the old folk who are into the crown green bowling, and getting them to enjoy their retirement years. Again, it just gives you this immense sense of satisfaction and pride in what you do, and how powerful chiropractic is.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, listen, you know what? I totally forgot. I made a little boo-boo there. I totally forgot to actually put your bio up. So let's put that on for a minute. Just so everybody kind of knows who you are, where you're from, etc. So we'll put that on the share for a little bit. Okay. There you are. And there's some of the stuff. You obviously, you qualified in 1990 in Bournemouth, ACC. Goodness me. Oh, there you go.
3 decades. Wow.
Yeah. How about that, eh?
Oh, yeah.
And your rap sheet is pretty impressive, in terms of being the NCSC president in UAE and all that kind of stuff. So it's been probably a heck of a ride for you, like you said. Watching how sports chiropractic has grown and moved on to like almost like a new, call it new century perhaps.
Well, yeah, I just think that coming from the days of when the British Chiropractic Sports Council, was just a small band of people, who just wanted to promote chiropractic through sports. It's really just skyrocketed. How it just drove me, to think, where can I take chiropractic? Stories in your profession. You grow up, you listen to people knocking chiropractic, saying it's a bad cousin of medicine, and how what we do is dangerous, etc. I just suddenly thought, what, this is another thing that gave me the impetus to really push chiropractic to the forefront, and I thought sports would be a really good platform, to showcase, what it could do. I remember the time when around 2001, 2002, I was. In fact, twice I was giving a talk to the Football Association exercise medicine and sports conferencing, and I was talking about all the stuff that I learned from Simon King with the muscle testing, looking for these neurological links, to the pelvis, the hamstring, groin pain, in footballers. And it really did transform the way they looked, the human body. Okay, footballer falls over, hamstring problem, out comes the magic sponge and the bucket, and that was pretty much all they did. And
exactly.
yeah, that's right. It looks really impressive when you got all this gas going out of the canister. But in the back rooms, really started to make them pay attention to what was going on with this neurological chain. But also, the muscular system, the myofascial system, which is something I've been really interested in the last 15 years, following the works of Professor Robert Schlepp and the anatomy trains, James Earl, and even going to some of the dissection classes, Julian Baker. All this stuff kind of pieces together what's as human performance. It does answer a lot of questions.
And it's funny when you the more you kind of read around these things, you pick one thing from here and another one from here, and it kind of all it blends into your own, maybe your own style, if you like, but it all is complementary after all, isn't it?
Well, it is. I think you like you, I guess, and like most people who are very interested in furthering themselves, you go to conferences and lectures and seminars that some chiropractors don't even go to, and you're learning from others and trying to understand, more about the human body. And in the end, you end up being, like a super duper modified, Lamborghini or a Ferrari or something, which is extremely good for your normal, patient base, as well as, dealing with top end athletes, who probably, like what you do.
Well, I mean, all the skills that you kind of pick up from when that athlete comes in and they give you a real sort of what you call it? It's almost like a bit of a brain teaser. They come in and you go, right, okay, here we go. What's going on here? Once you get your teeth into it, I mean, then all of a sudden, it's like the ketchup bottle just pops open. You can use that to everybody. Whether it's old Margaret or Bob or whoever comes to your clinic from their lawn bowling or whoever, but you just spot it. Okay, actually, you know what? Now I know. I just gotta apply a little bit of a twist here, and it'll work for you as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think when you work with triathletes and they've got everything on a log sheet, on a database, to their personal bests and so on. And it's so satisfying when they can come in and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe I beat my personal best," all because of what you did. And you think, great, fantastic, okay, to you and I, it'll probably be, whatever, it's just something, but to them, my God, it's, that extra 2% of marginal gain is tremendous.
Absolutely. And then, this is what these guys live for, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's nice to be part of that process.
That's right.
Okay. It's great to be able to get
Brian Nook just recently, good old Uncle Brian, he's got a story for everything. He's great.
Oh God, yeah.
He was telling me about this story how one of his athletes medaled in whatever African Games it was, and hence it was a life transforming event for her. Of course, she comes over and gives him a big hug and says, thank you for your help, and he can claim that little corner of the medal. That's kind of like his contribution. Obviously the athlete has done all the work, but you've been a part of the journey, which is amazing.
Yeah, but the nicest thing is that they actually say to you that this is all thanks to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming. I think, well, no, you've trained all this time, over the years to get to this stage, and we only just this little thing for them. But of course, it's a game changer.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, you have to enjoy it while you can. Yeah.
No, absolutely right. No, we'll take every pat on the back we can, really, isn't it? Always a sucker for a little bit of, well done, lad.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so always get those, sort of nice pictures in with the trophy or whatever,
Oh, totally. Yeah, you got to have your clinic hall of fame, with all the selfies,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think that would be amazing. But one thing I was going to ask you actually. So back in the day, coming back to the kind of football and how you started influencing that. I remember back in my dark old days, back in the ACC in DP lecture hall, we had this chap coming from AC Milan, if I'm not mistaken, So
Oh
he
yeah.
was in the Milan lab. I can't remember his name now, but you remember who that was?
Jean-Pierre Mezeman.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. Him. But he gave a very cool lecture actually, and he was explaining all about what they used to do in AC Milan when obviously AC Milan was big. Now maybe a bit less big, but in those days they were absolutely a dominant force. And they were talking about how the process they went through signing players and predicting injuries and all this kind of stuff, which I thought was absolutely fascinating. I think I must have been like third-year student, so most of it went overhead, in all honesty. But it left that spark also in me. I thought, wow, if that's what we can do when we qualify, and sign me up any day.
Yeah.
But he was talking about, I think it was Rivaldo or one of these Brazilian players who he said, right, so he played us this video of him running or dribbling or something like that. He said, right, who from this video clip, so it was like a 10-second clip, who can spot why we didn't sign him? And obviously nobody could pick it. There was maybe 150 students in the audience, and obviously nobody could pick him. Few people had sort of ideas, but he said, no, just look at his ankle in that frame. So then he freeze frames, and it's almost like, uncontrollably pronated, that kind of thing. And true enough, 6-7 months down the line, news went up that he's injured his ankle or whatever, and he was out for the season and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously they picked it up so early.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, I remember the time when I was at Leeds and also at Middlesbrough, they would sign a player up and then they would bring them in to get an assessment. I'm thinking, well, how come they didn't actually let us do the assessment first before they sign him up? Yeah. And so I remember the time when there was one player who came in, and I mean, his medical records were like as thick as like 2 phone books. I'm thinking, it's like buying a used car and had so many receipts and bills, for it. I was just thinking, this is ridiculous. And anyway, I was just going through, physical examination, assessments, and muscle testing, and left it at that. And then I spoke to the head of medical, and he goes, "What do you think?" And I just looked at him. I said, why did they sign this guy up? And he's a liability.
He's like a walking corpse.
You're going to assume, loads of times on the treatment table, which we obviously did, but my God, it really was a bit of a chop shop, sort of job. But I think this is half the fun, though. You're given these challenges, and to turn someone around to make them, even better than they were when they first came in is fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. So, talking about something like that, I was part of a organization of local rugby club. They played it like League One or something like that at the time. It was pretty good. So this one day, young lad comes in. He was the hooker, so he must have been about 20 years old. Absolutely built like how they are built. And so he says, "Oh, I got a little thing in my back. Can you adjust me?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So as I kind of went to I was just having a feel almost, and he exhaled. And I didn't actually even press it, but everything just went, the whole spine just released. And I thought, uh-oh, okay, that's totally not supposed to happen. Didn't say that out loud. Of course, I managed to keep my trap shut at the time. But anyways, I thought, what, surely, if this guy is like 25 stone of solid muscle, that shouldn't be that free.
Yeah.
So then just started looking into it a little bit, and it turns out he was fine in a straight line, like, as they do in a scrum, head first into the thing. He was fine. But try and make him do anything else, and he literally would collapse. So most telling thing was we gave him a single dumbbell, like 10K dumbbell, had him lie down on his back on a bench and do like a pec fly, one-armed, fell off the bench.
Oh, God.
Anyways, so I just realized that he was so sort of compensated and unable to actually operate his own system that it just took a couple of months of rehab, adjusted him and this and that. The physios did their thing, but the point is that he never had trouble since. But it was a complete turnaround, going from sort of
he doesn't have too many knocks to the head.
yeah, there's that. But I could see in my mind's eye that he would have had that medical ledger, several volumes of it, had he just not changed anything.
Yeah. But I remember one time when this rugby player came in from Sale Sharks, and he had cervical brachial plexus syndrome and And I assessed him, and I suddenly thought, nah, I'm not happy about this. And he goes, you're going to treat me. I need to be playing this weekend. I said, no, I'm really not happy about this. And you know how you suddenly think, there's something wrong about this case.
Yeah.
I was thinking, how come, he hasn't consulted, his, background medical staff. And so I said, look, I can't treat you today. I've got other things to do. And, I just blew him off. And I immediately rang, the medical department. And I said, what's up with this guy? And he goes, why? Has he come to see you for treatment? And I said, yeah. Have you treated him? I said, well, no. He goes, well, thank goodness for that, because we've already told him, that after the MRI scan, that he needs an operation, to get his sort of disc removed. And,
wow.
And he was just so desperate to play that he was just trying to find a magic bullet, that I'm glad that I didn't actually touch this guy, So I don't know what it was, my spider senses or something. It must have kicked it.
It's that bumper trouble. See, I had it right there. It's that bumper trouble. When it itches, you just back off.
Yeah, that's right. So, it's one of those funny, bizarre moments. But, yeah, wow. But, there you go. So that was just, rugby. I mean, I could have got into rugby as well because the medical director at Leeds United, he was also part of the Leeds rugby scene as well.
And
he was, doctor for the England squad at some point too. But, he tried to get me into it, but quite honestly, just got so busy with football. Now, football was only part-time. They only wanted once a week, but it ended up being like 3 times a week. And then my clinic was open 24/7 to the guys. So it just felt like 15 seasons of Leeds United, and concurrently with 9 seasons with Middlesbrough. Did a couple, but I just couldn't squeeze any more in. It was nice to be asked, by so many clubs to say, look, could you come look at this player, that player?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was also working in Formula One.
There you go.
I started that to the end of 2007. With winter testing, and then so in between the football and the Formula One, luckily I had some colleagues who could step in if I wasn't in the country.
Exactly.
But at least it was actually quite a good pairing because the footballers they love fast cars. Most guys do. Girls do, and they just couldn't wait to ask me about how'd you get on with this person? What was it like? Doing this, that. So there's always a story to talk about.
Oh, absolutely. See, that's chiropractic all over, isn't it? Stories. It's always a story, and that's I love that myself. I like a good story as it goes. But you like a fast car, though, don't you? Goodness me.
Oh, a few, yeah.
I kind of went and looked at your Instagram stuff, and you know what? There's all sorts of cool cars. Come on, man. What's your favorite?
I mean, I'm just trying to build up a collection at some point. I think favorite. You've always got to have a Porsche in your collection. And I remember years ago I was talking to this racing driver, and I said, mate, it's all your fault, And he goes, why? Because I saw a documentary about you talking about cars and fast cars and what racing car drivers drive, and he said you've always got to have a Porsche 911. And I remember even as a student, I had a picture of a classic 911 turbo, on my desk, and it was something I'd worked towards, and it was pretty much, I think, maybe 15 years later, I finally found one, and
nice,
and had it for a good 10 years, and then as time went on, you sort of upgrade, you change, and then. Then when I moved to Dubai, I didn't have any of that. Everybody seems to like muscle cars here in Dubai, and so I bought myself a crappy old Mustang, which only lasted a year. But quite honestly, I just don't like them too much. The new ones are very nice, but they're a bit flaky. And anyway.
I'm still kicking myself. I had this older lady patient of mine in clinic, and she always used to come in with you could hear her arriving from a mile away.
Yeah.
And she drove this. It was one of the very last air-cooled 911s. It was a beautiful piece. And then one day I sort of half jokingly said, if when you get too old, just let me know. I'll buy that car off you. Now we had that relationship. It's fine, but So anyways, so she then maybe about 12 months down the line says, right, I'm thinking of selling. Were you serious? And at that point, I had I think I just bought a house, so I didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. And so I said, sorry, I can't buy it now. You know, if you want to hold on for a bit, I would love to. And he was going for actually a really decent price. So then she said, no, sorry, you know, I just want to get rid of it now and get something else. And so then next time she turned up in like a Peugeot, you know, the Peugeot that came out with, it was like the sporty Peugeot.
Yeah, an RCZ or something, yeah.
Yeah, but she didn't appreciate me asking where the batteries went in that one. It just sounded like, you know, going from a real rumble, like a proper Porsche, into this sort of, I thought, no.
Although I did regret selling the old air cooled, you know, which I had for 10 years. It was, you know, and then, I mean, in my last year in the UK, you know, I had a 996 turbo. Yeah. And honestly, that was a weapon. It was beautiful. And I was quite sad when I had to sell it, you know, but anyway, you know, I'm working towards other stuff here.
Yeah, come on, cars come and go. You might buy that one back. You never know, hey?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's good. But so in terms of Formula One then, and were you treating mainly drivers or also all the other mechanics and the whole shebang that goes with it?
It was mainly, you know, drivers, you know, to begin with. It started off with a friend of mine who used to be in football. And he actually became Mark Webber's physio and trainer. Nice. And Mark Webber's teammate driver, you know, was David Coulthard, you know, at the time. And so it was actually, you know, DC who was looking for a chiropractor. And so, you know, Roger, my friend, you know, put my name forward. And I met the team principal, Christian Horner, down in Milton Keynes. And he said, look, you know, they come winter testing with us. You may not like it. It's not for everyone, but I want you to meet the driver and give it a go. So that's what I did. Went down to Barcelona, and it was really nice just meeting these guys. And he goes, right, I want you to fix me, and blah, blah, blah. Like what I did, and carried on from there. And then on day 2, he smashed his car up at turn 9 of the track or something. And everybody was really obviously quite concerned, you know, because one moment you can hear this, you know, Formula One car screaming around the track, and the next thing you don't hear anything. So they sent another car out because they didn't have cameras on the track at the time. And he basically stuffed it into a concrete wall. And the impact measured something like 25G, you know, impact with 12G rotation. In a very obviously short space of just a couple of meters from 130 miles an hour or something. And so, you know, you can, the car was in bits, you know, it took two days for the mechanics and engineers to get it fixed. And I had 2 days to fix his, you know, his body because, you know, he was a bit, you know, bruised and a bit smashed up. But, you know, he did all right.
The head didn't come off.
Yeah, well, exactly, you know, and this is probably why, you know, when you look at the, you know, the helmets and the Hans, you know, device, you know, limits, you know, so much movement, and the way the, you know, the carbon fiber nose cone, you know, it is literally like a bullet, you know, shell casing, you know, how it, you know, dissipates all that stress. That it's a lifesaver. And so anyway, he felt better. He got in the car and he drove when they fixed his car up, and he said he felt fine. And I thought, well, thank goodness for that. So because after that point, he says, right, you're coming racing with us. So that's when I did my first full race season in 2008.
Cool.
And, you know, carried on from there. But yeah, you learn a lot about the, you know, the whole industry, you know, because not only was I looking after the drivers, because then I started, you know, helping, you know, Roger, you know, with Mark, but the sister team, Toro Rosso, you could say the Red Bull's junior team. Yeah. They unfortunately, very sadly, lost their trainer and physio because, you know, this guy who was, you know, in his 40s, you know, he went out on a bike ride, kilometre in apparently, you know, he just had a massive heart attack, and so Toro also lost their trainer physio, and that's when they stepped in and said, look, is there any chance you could actually, you know, come over to our side a little bit and, you know, help with drivers as well. I said, yeah, no problem. But then it kind of blossomed and dovetailed from there, because then I started looking after the pit crew, the mechanics, because clearly they were always having problems with long hours on their feet, and according to tight spaces, you know. And then we
They're
started
high
looking.
performance athletes in a way, because, you know, you're looking at the tire change in a Formula One car. I mean, come on, the whole thing is done in 10 seconds. Well, that's a slow tire change, but, you know.
Yeah, yeah. That is, I don't know what racing you're watching, but yeah, that's slow.
Yeah.
But we started looking at you know, ways to improve, you know, the pit crew's abilities, and started looking at the diets, you know, an exercise, you know, fitness program, but also regular treatments adjustments. And we saw the pit stops time come down, you know, from something like 3.4 seconds to 2.8 seconds to 1.8 seconds, you know.
Wow.
And that, when you think about it in F1 terms, car comes in, you get, you know, you change all the tires, and 1.8 seconds, the car's leaving the pit lane already.
Yes.
I mean, I know Formula One would be very happy to spend 20 million to shave off 0.2 of a second a lap of their car. And if you can make a difference, you know, somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know,
and I mean, if you manage to bring that pit stop down, you know, 50% from whatever it is, 3.4 to 1.8, I mean, goodness me, you know,
yeah.
that's the best not 20 million they ever spent.
No, that'd be nice if I had a bit of that, but no, it never works out that way, does it? So.
I think here, you know, you should have been really explicit in your contract. So for every 0.1 second, you know, there's a big chunk, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, but you know, that's just the way it is, isn't it? It's
no, you know what, that's so cool, man. No, that's great.
Yeah.
But so in terms of sounds like you had a bit of a full plate there as well, being a chiro and a bit of a trainer and a bit of a nutritionist, and you know, kind of getting yourself mixed up in all sorts.
Yeah, no, and being a bouncer, being a chauffeur, being a professional rain spotter. You know, you go out there, you can tell the guys in the pit crew, you know, the engineers that, okay, you've got a rain level 5, and they make a decision as what tyres, you know, they put in the car. So, you know, I became a seasoned rain spotter, which was just quite amusing. I think, God, you know, what else can I do? They actually asked me to become a fireman. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they said, look, he says, training's really easy, Paul. You know, everybody runs away from the fire. You run towards it. You know, with a fire extinguisher. I mean, luckily I didn't do any of that, but yeah, that was just one of the job descriptions, you know. That was in the contract, but you know, it was good fun anyway.
Well, there you go. You know, I mean, you come across like a guy who just likes to get stuck in and get stuff done anyway. So
well, you have to, you know, because, you know, what's the point in sitting there twiddling your thumbs and, you know, I could have been sat up there drinking champagne and just enjoying the race, but it just didn't seem right when everybody's like, you know, in their toes. It was great fun to also do, you know, pit boarding, you know, banging up the numbers on the board and hanging it out, you know.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Shoot past, you know. I nearly dropped the pit board, you know, in Monaco at one stage. No, I mean, you know, I was, honestly, even thinking about it now, I'm just like really sweating. And, you know, the aperture through the, you know, the pit wall was actually really narrow, and you have to share it with you know, the other driver's trainer. Coulthard's trainer, you know, unfortunately Coulthard crashed, and I had the whole thing to myself. So I was doing it for Mark Webber, and I remember, you know, hanging out as far as I possibly could, you know, because as he came around the corner, you know, he'd be able to, you know, see it, you know, instantly.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, Schumacher's race car going literally right underneath me, and the wind turbulence nearly knocked it out of my hand. You know? So you could imagine if I dropped the pit board, you know, they would have had to stop the race all because of me, you know. So, you know, that it's like one of those what if moments.
That's when you like handcuff it to your wrist or something so it can't fall.
Duct tape it. Yeah,
duct tape it. Yeah. I don't know. You tell me, actually, is duct tape even allowed in Formula One?
Good question. I don't know. I know kinesio tape is, but duct tape, no, I don't know.
Like in every other motorsport, you know, you have the sort of go-to staples, and you got duct tape, you got zip cords, zip ties, you know, and WD-40. Is that how Formula One runs as well, or is they're a bit more fancy, aren't they?
Yeah, you probably see stuff like that, you know, somewhere in you know, engineers, you know, sort of chest floors, but I've not seen any of that stuff. No.
No, that's where you can see it. That's right. Only behind the curtains. No, absolutely. Yeah. Cool. So hey, but you know, you also went into the whole, was it desert racing? You know, Paris Dakar. What was it?
Well, yeah, the started off last year with the Abu Dhabi Desert Challenge, which is
Oh, yeah,
again
yeah.
a 5-day race. They do something like 250 kilometers plus a day
Wow.
over certain quarters of the Liwa Desert. And what was interesting is that you see the guys take off at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you don't see them until they come back at about
Yeah.
2 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's when you get busy until the
Yeah, yeah.
evening. The medical crews are flying around on helicopters, so rescuing broken bits of cars and bikes.
Yeah.
We've also got a sweep team, which are basically souped up 4-wheel drives that go and pick up all the bits and the riders and drivers, acting as rescue crews, and just making sure they don't leave litter everywhere in the desert.
Yeah, quite.
But that was really good fun, and I was sleeping in the back of my car, all the time I was there, because the porta cabins, quite frankly, weren't very pleasant. And I didn't want to sleep in a tent, I mean, have you seen the camel spiders? I mean, they are alien creatures that...
I haven't seen any of those. I don't want to see them. Thank you.
No, but camel spiders are, Google it, honestly, they are frightening looking creatures, you don't want those. And there are snakes and stuff like that, so I didn't, want to sleep in a tent.
You're selling it really well. You're selling it super well. I might turn up next year.
In fact, they were meant to have it this year, but due to the virus thing, they've pushed it back now to November. Yeah,
so right, okay, gotcha.
Hopefully, we'll do it in November.
Yeah, there you are. Oh, blimey. So in terms of then the drivers and whoever you're treating there, was that kind of everything and anything would come your way? Bit of lumbar problems, neck problems, elbows, wrists, whatever.
Man, I mean, the dune bashing is brutal, and this is why I think the medical staff and the surgeons are truly fantastic. I mean, these guys are military grade, and they've had a few people who've had several level spinal burst fractures that need to be airlifted to the hospital. Wow. And currently I'm looking after a guy who actually a funny story. I got into the Dakar this year, and he basically smashed up his left ankle. I had it pinned, and got him walking, and got him riding. So he was ready for the Dakar. Only on day 3, he does a nasty jump, smashes his bike, really hard, and of course both his feet are on the pedals, and unfortunately falls, completely shattered his sort of left leg again. So it's like, no, I've only got that far, and anyway, so I'm sorting him out for the next challenge, the Desert Challenge in November. So he's looking forward to it. But when you look at this guy's medical history, honestly, he's got so many metal bits. He's got more metal bits than Wolverine.
Yeah, exactly. This guy's like a bionic man.
Yes, right. You sort of look at him walk. He looks a bit like a robot.
Yeah, imagine the scene at the airport when he goes through the metal detector.
Yeah,
it's not the little beep. It's not that. It's like literally the roller shutters bang down and the red lights.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because he called the SWAT team at that point. Hey, hold on. I'm a desert racer. Oh, okay. No, you carry on.
Yeah, it's like that. But the next one, November. I think the Race of Champions was another one that I look after, and that's just an annual event where all the best drivers and riders from NASCAR, Indy 500, F1, World Rallying, V8 supercars, super trucks, they all get together and race against each other, on the track.
Yeah. It's like a stadium event, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's usually good fun. Last time, I was in Mexico City last time, and caught up with Mercedes DaCosta. She was fantastic. We're at altitude. Mexico City's about 2 kilometers above sea level or something, and everybody's gasping. We ran out of electrolytes, big time. And thanks to Mercedes, she found a shop and bought a whole lot of electrolytes to give all the riders, the drivers, and the staff, because of dehydration, being outside and exposed. The sunshine.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to look after everyone.
No, absolutely. No, that's brilliant stuff. So would you say, do you have a bit of wanderlust in you or is this, you've just been following sports chiropractic around the globe, or is it, that's kind of followed you, or how would you feel? What do you think?
I don't know. I think I always like to you know, stick my head in somewhere, you know, and, you know, even trying something different. You know, when I came to Dubai and I met a polo player, and then started looking at doing the equestrian, you know, side of chiropractic as well. I thought, okay, you know, let's try a different sport. And well, it made a difference, yeah, to, you know, the riders and the horses and how they felt and how they played. So in a funny sort of way, you think, wow, chiropractic is amazing, you know. So, you know, okay, the team has now moved on and change of management, etc., etc. So I'm not with them anymore. So at the moment, we're still looking after, despite the virus thing, you know, still, you know, keeping people maintained, you know, in their triathlon training, rugby players, you know, sort of coming in, still, you know, keeping in touch with obviously the guys in motorsports, hopefully later on this year. Next thing, I don't know. At the end of the day, I've been working on the UAE Olympic Committee. You know, had meetings with them. Yeah, but yeah, things are obviously quiet at the moment. So
yeah, exactly.
I don't know how things are going to go at this stage.
Well, do you know what? Surfing. Apparently, they're allowing surfing again. Ooh. Big wave surfing. That might be interesting, wouldn't it?
I'm not sure we've got big wave surfing here. We've got kite surfers here.
No, you'd have to travel a bit. You have to go to Hawaii or something for big wave surfing, I think. But,
that would be tough, you know. Puerto Rico.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Oh, hey, that's not too bad. Not too bad a gig, is it?
Yeah, that could be good. I might retire out there. I might just like say, "Oh, this is good. I'll stay here."
Yeah, exactly. You'll pay me a little bit for every event. I'll see you guys here every year. You know, just put a little.
That's all you need: a roof over your head, you know, your food and drink, and that's it. You're sorted.
That's it. Job done, man. Absolutely brilliant. But yeah, no, it's yeah. So at the moment, you know, like what I'm doing personally as well is kind of at that junction. Kind of trying to figure out what to do next, really. And I mean, it's funny with this whole FICS thing. You know, I've been involved with FICS now for a few years, and took a job with them on the finance side of things, which I have extensive knowledge of, by the way. You know, absolute wizard. willing to give it a go. You know, that kind of thing. And, so then this whole chat show idea came up, and bits and bobs. So stuff is kind of just falling into place at the moment. Yes. And it's quite fun. But yeah, I'm not sure what sport I would want to go into next.
I don't know. Maybe the sport will find you. Because after, you know, working in Formula One, I ended up in Atlantic rowing. Yeah, and it just so happened that a friend of mine, his wife, and 3 other girls wanted to do the Atlantic Challenge. Yeah, nice. And so it starts the end of you know, December, and they've got so many days to row from the island of La Gomera, which is just next to Tenerife. Yeah, and so they go from there 3,000 nautical miles to Antigua. Yeah, and so I thought, why on earth, you know, would 4 ladies, working mums, you know, who want to do this, and anyway, I decided to have a lunch meeting with them. This is going back in 2014. And they said, well, we just want to do it to raise money for charity. And I said, well, yeah, this is well and good, but, you know, we're talking about this endurance, you know, sport. Okay, they've been running and cycling, and that's about it. But, and so they had to go through this whole process of understanding about what it's like to be, you know, on the ocean, constantly bobbing up and down. Yeah, and and also going through the whole training process, because they basically had a year and a half, you know, to get themselves race ready. From nothing. Being a working mum, you know, and so, you know, having just stepped out of F1 and, you know, human high performance and so on, you know, we started looking at, you know, sort of diet, nutrition, regular maintenance care. You know, we set up a land crew, you know, to, you know, get a GP involved, get a trainer involved, nutritionist, you know, involved, but also, you know, psychologists involved as well. You know, so they all had, you know, the psychometric testing, you know, sort of done to match their personalities, you know, with their capabilities and so on. You know, so you know, my role was pretty straightforward, because it's just literally coming out of clinic and just working with these girls, keeping them as fit as possible, you know, and as able as possible to become fit. So they lost very little in the way of any time off. during training, so that they could get to where they were. Interestingly enough, there was one of them, Helen. She rang me and she said, "Paul, I'm just trying to do 2 hours a day on the rower, but I can't even do more than half an hour. I just get burnt out." And I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "What are you eating for breakfast?" And she goes, "Pot of yogurt, chia seeds." And I said, "You haven't got any calories." I said, "Okay, let's start with a full English breakfast, okay?" And she goes, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Look, this isn't a beauty contest. Yeah, we want to build muscle here." So she banged away this, a full English breakfast the next day, and my God, she banged out easily, sort of 90 minutes, on the road for the first time.
There you go.
All because of calories. And so it completely just changed the way they thought about, food,
Absolutely.
And
absolutely. And, it's funny how oftentimes I find, when you're not dealing with elite sport, when you don't have that ready-made team that you're stepping into, where there's a nutritionist and a trainer and this and that, when all of those things are not present and it's all kind of resting on you, you do need to have that passing knowledge of all these different aspects, including the psychology side of things. Yeah. And oftentimes chiropractors, especially the younger ones, they kind of don't go there. They don't think about it like that. But it's you still, the expectation for you to really look after your athlete is that you need to have knowledge of it. And, and because the athletes don't know, they haven't been exposed to it. So the buck stops here. Then we gotta just roll up the sleeves and get on with it, and be a nutritionist and be the guy who tells them to go and eat a full English instead of yogurt and chia seeds, and oh, come on. But it's great though, isn't it? It's very fulfilling. I personally find when you just opening these doors for athletes, they can actually start looking into themselves and being there to encourage them to learn.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting how over the years you start to gel with a small group of people, and it's amazing how you really get to know them. Just like your regular patients coming to the clinic. After a while, you really start to know them, and when something's wrong, you can actually see and feel what is actually wrong with the bodies and how to get back to their normal. And very similar to to the athletes, and when you do become part of their lives, in that sort of level of their career, you almost become, you do become very, very personal, sort of to them.
Well, it's bound to happen, really.
Yeah. And then, unfortunately, when things, sort of change, and things move on, and then somebody else, to look after.
Absolutely right.
It's a progression. It really is. And like you said, I don't know where I'm going to go, with, sports chiropractic, I'm sure something will come to me at some point, I don't have to go looking for it. It'll come to me.
But you know what I thought about would be really cool, actually, is get in touch with Red Bull and get on Red Bull, like the extreme skiing stuff and all of these kind of things. That'd be amazing to treat those athletes who are, just very different, not your run-of-the-mill track and field athletes or, have very specific presentations, but these guys, they'd be phenomenally cool to treat, I think.
They will be, because I think they would really appreciate it, because I though they may be sponsored, for example, I've come across some of these characters because they were guests, of a particular race or something, and hit the headlines of being the champion kite surfer or BMX biker, even the Red Bull Air Race. I met some of the pilots and treated one or two of those.
Wow. Nice.
They actually said, "Yeah, I'd love you if you could come, to just travel around the world with them." And but these sometimes it's just chit chat, and sometimes you might be lucky enough, and the manager's really serious about it, and the next thing you know, you get an email, a phone call, you're coming with us. And you think, "Oh, okay, great." So
let me just my patience for that weekend.
Yeah. So anything is possible, but you're right. It would be cool to go to these events and meet these people and treat them, and be asked to go back again and again.
Yeah, well, that's where the proof is in the pudding, isn't it? If you get invited again, they obviously appreciate what you've done.
Yeah. It validates your existence and your skill set, and it just makes you happy that you're doing a good job. And I think for your sort of regular patients as well, they love the fact that you're looking after these people, because it transfers onto them, and you're set for life.
Absolutely. But hey, you know what? I was thinking of along the lines earlier. You know, you mentioned obviously various different influences. You know, whether it's Simon King, who we had on the show. Actually, his interview just came out on the weekend.
Yeah, that's right. I saw it. Yeah,
yeah, it was really good fun actually with Simon as well. And you know, hopefully I can get Thomas Myers and all the others on. You never know. I know, big goals, right? But what's kind of what's your sort of next thing you're looking into in terms of learning about human beings and that what direction are you looking to go next?
I'll probably want to go to some more dissection classes you know, with the Julian Baker, you know, functional anatomy. He was meant to be running a course in Poland this summer. I'm not sure if it's still on or what, but I doubt it. But yeah, he's the one to follow for sure. So I think when you are in regular touch, you know, with you know, the anatomical side of things, you know, you're constantly, you know, sort of thinking, you know, about you know, your patients, you know, because of what you know that's underneath the wire, you know, the floorboards, as it were. You know, you're understanding the wiring. But otherwise, it'll be a matter of bobbing in and out of various different conferences and just picking up the occasional gems of wisdom. You know, if you come away with at least one, you know, you know it's been well worth it. Sometimes, you know, you go to conferences, you pick up 2 or 3, and sometimes you get nothing, and you think, oh, that was a waste of time. So, you know what it's like. Yeah.
No, exactly. But hey, if you wanted to give a young aspiring sports chiropractor a couple of pearls of wisdom, if you give me your top 3, what would those be? Top 3 pearls of wisdom.
Top 3. Oh, wow.
I know, slightly putting you on the spot here, but let's see what we come up with.
I think always be mindful of who you are, and also, you know, the people you'll be working with. You don't want to step on people's feet. You've got to know their scope of practice, your scope of practice, and always be humble. Yeah. I've met people who, you know, who are so cocksure of themselves that suddenly they're not liked, and as a result, they don't last long in the industry. So I think, you know, being a humble team player, contributor, you know, makes a big difference. Second pearl of wisdom, I think, you know, just being willing to, you know, react and be able to do something, you know, to make a difference.
Yeah.
Because that gives the athletes, the person you're treating, confidence, you know, not only in your ability but their ability. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
A third pearl of wisdom. I don't think I have one, mate.
You know what? Those 2 were big. Those 2 were
yeah.
Big. So you count as 3.
And I would have to say, just enjoy the journey. Be a bit of a lateral thinker. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I've met chiropractors who are just so, you know, sort of just down one particular way of thinking that they never, you know, stray from it. And, you know, it's just, I think the key is to keep learning. Yeah. I 30 years of practice, I'm still learning.
You will. I think you will forever, you know.
Yeah. It's never done.
If there comes a day when I realize that I've now learned everything, I think it's time to, you know, stop. Maybe I'll do at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it was only recently we had Dr. Alderman here. You know, he came to Abu Dhabi to pick up an award, a lifetime achievement award, and his contribution to you know, the healthcare profession. And you know, he said he's seen chiropractic go full circle, which I think, well, yeah, you know, you do it, then you probably go around again and again. And so it's interesting to hear that you know, whatever you've learned will always be with you, and it won't change despite all the trendy things that happen. You know,
it works. I mean, I suppose, you know, when you look at the various different influences you mentioned earlier as well, and you connect the dots, and that all of a sudden you realize that maybe there is no need to have a specific technique or style of practice. You know, you kind of just make it up on the go for each patient and what is right for them. Some of my colleagues, you know, when we qualified, they all rush to SOT courses, they rush to constant adjusting, they rush to whichever way. And I always thought, you know what, I'm not interested. You know, I'm interested in the stuff they teach, but I don't want to label myself as just like just a SOT practitioner.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, just an SOT practitioner. Nothing wrong with them, you know, not in that sense. But you know, it's like, why would you kind of just have one skill set and then just be a technician forever? Instead, absorb all this knowledge, put it together, and keep learning. Hey.
Yeah, that's right. You know, so I look back and I think, wow, you know, probably like yourself, you know, you've done so many different courses, and I remember doing SOT. You know, I remember sort of reading so much into it, and my head was just like, you know, full of information. And then I thought, no, okay, let's try AK, and you know, let's try. But I did AK with Simon King, but I also did an AK course with an osteopath, Clive Linley Jones in Oxford, and you know, it really was really good to be able to listen to not just, you know, one specialist, you know, in that field, but also, you know, a few different ones, you know, because there's always a slight angle change different in the way they perceive and look at things, and you know, some of the stuff might resonate with you, and sometimes it doesn't. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes just the way it's said as well. It's not necessarily the content may be same, but they just use the joke in a different place, and all of a sudden it just open it up for you. And no, absolutely. Hence, you know, it boils down to communication as much as it boils down to the content, I think. No, absolutely. No, that's really good, man. Really good. Cool. You know, we're cracking on here. We're almost getting to our allocated time.
You know, time flies, isn't it? We're having fun.
Having a good old natter, you know, it's ain't nothing wrong with that. And but you know what, just to allow me a quick message from our sponsors, FICS. You know, we obviously FICS is running lots of different courses, and with the ICSC program, of course, being the flagship. So those are available for students to enroll. There's even money off those at the moment, considering the current climate and that. So that's very good. And of course, we all remember that if you don't have your ICSC qualification, you cannot go to the games and work on the games and volunteer and experience all this well, how should we call it? Maybe constructive chaos that goes in being a chiropractor involved in there, or a labor camp like somebody else called it, which is also fine. But you know, so for all the students, please check out all the stuff online. There's loads of it there, and hopefully you take advantage in this time of not seeing so many patients in clinic. But Paul, my friend, it's been an absolute pleasure having a chat with you this evening. Oh, well, it's not evening now for me, but it's almost an evening to you.
Well, it's just afternoon, it's nearly 3, so yeah, it's okay, yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I thank you very much for your time. And hopefully people will watch this interview, and they will enjoy it and take heart from it.
Great stuff. Okay, take care, mate.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.